Welcome back, everybody. This is Grace, and today, finally, got the Black Friday slideshow finished. Video guide to the Black Friday event. Gonna be talking about a hell of a lot of items, what you might want them for, what you might not want them for, and just Black Friday in general. The first about 10 slides are gonna be stuff you saw last year in the video. That's just like the basics of Black Friday, how it works. So with that being said, we'll get right into it. Black Friday, everything is half off in-game, but out-of-game, prices are not reduced. There is currently a 50% bonus going on, so you'll get 50% more Z tokens for buying a package, but the price isn't reduced. Make sure you don't get tripped up by that. These are the 4 things that aren't cut in half in prices: item slots, shared vault, bases, and Z tokens you spend in a weird instance like a quest, like in the Head of the Radius Dragon. There might be another exception, I forget. Golden gift boxes. These will look like they're not discounted, but the price is actually discounted. It just doesn't show up visually because who knows. If you're not exactly sure when BF starts or ends, you can buy one and see if you lose 250 Z tokens, which is the normal price, or 125. If you lose 125, you know it's Black Friday. That's pretty much it. One more thing about golden gift boxes. I forget if I actually talk about this later, but my basic recommendation is that a lot of golden gift box items are really good. So however many tokens you plan to spend on token items, you should spend that many on golden gift boxes. So I'd say half and half. Now that's my personal opinion. There's no like science or logic behind that. I'm just like, well, if you want some token items, you'll probably want a lot of GGBs too. So you may as well have some. It's an eyeball number, you don't have to follow it. Just my advice: if you're going to buy a lot of token items, consider buying as much value worth of GGBs as well. Housing interest. Your housing interest builds on the price you buy the house. So if you buy a Sky Castle at half cost, you'll get half the inflation on your housing interest. I don't really think it's a big deal because housing interest is a really slow way to make tokens. You can do it. If you buy 10 of them across your accounts, you'll make a lot of interest, but I mean, like, you can get 5k in one day during the donation very easily, so I don't know. Golden gift boxes. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about. Basically, I would recommend splitting, at least if you don't have a specific shopping plan, about half and half. Z token items versus GGBs. Just my idea. You can look through the lists in my spreadsheet, and the lists on the wiki, which has all the golden gift box items, almost all of them. But my general advice is you'll probably want a lot of golden gift boxes as well as raw token items. Also, just for some comparison, golden gift boxes cost 100 a piece on Black Friday. Z token items cost $29.70, we'll say 3,000, and your odds for golden gift boxes are 3% ultra rare, 12% rare, and 75% common. That comes out to, if you're buying a ton of them and converting, I think something like 2,500 an ultra rare, might be 2,300. If you're not buying a ton of them and you won't have a lot of conversions, it comes out to more like 3,000 per ultra rare. So you can think of ultra rares as slightly cheaper token items, or about the same as token items. Rares are about 1/3, 1/4 of a token item. Yep, there we go. So that's all I want to say for golden gift boxes. Seasonal items. A lot of Black Friday items are seasonal. A lot of the ones in this spreadsheet are seasonal. If you don't know which one, or not in the spreadsheet, in the slideshow are seasonal. If you're thinking, man, I like that item, I want to buy it, you can check the Google spreadsheet linked below, which has all of the items written out, rough opinions on them, rough descriptions of what they do, and more importantly, so you can have your own opinion, to have the info subs linked where possible. So you can read the info sub, see what the item does, be like, yeah, I do want that. No, I don't want that. There we go. But the way people get seasonal items is they either buy the portal painting, which I'll talk about. That's basically usually a 1.5 thousand painting, which gives you access to either an event or a shop at different times in the year. So I bought, for example, the Mogloween event. So now I can go to Mogloween and buy all the token items there if I wanted to, at half price. That's it, simple as that. I recommend getting all of these if you have like 30,000 or more tokens, at least for the main quests, not for the LTS, because there are like 30 LTS shops. They add up quick. I have them all, or almost all of them, but you know, they're expensive. So unless you have a ton of tokens, I wouldn't buy all the LTSs. But plan ahead when you get to an LTS, be like, ooh, I want this token item, I'll buy the level 10 version of it, and upgrade it during Black Friday. Because that's another thing you can do. You can buy the level 10 version of an item, or level 5 or 15 or whatever, for cheap, and then on Black Friday the upgrade cost is halved like normal, so you only pay the level 10 version, and then the rest of it get the Black Friday deal. That's what people do, either the portal painting, or buy the lowest level and upgrade. Here are the portal paintings, I just mentioned them. I really recommend Mogloween, Snugglefest, Blarney, April Fools, and Grenwog. I think those are really, really good. Harvest Fest too, but less, a little bit less. And then after that I'd prioritize the Frostvale paintings, because some of those have really good items. For the Frostvale paintings, you can kind of skip them and buy them once, do all the quests, buy all the items, and then sell it within 48 hours, and then you only spend 2,000 tokens. You get that 90% sellback after you first buy them, but to be honest, that's more of a Frostvale video. But yeah, as you can see, there's a ton of these. If you're going to collect them all, you need to be willing to allocate like 60,000, 70,000 tokens. Yeah, is that number right? I don't know, probably a little high, but it's a lot of tokens if you're going to get them all throughout the year. Estates, just don't buy them. The only estate you want is a museum, which gives you a golden gift box every month. It works on adventures as long as you have a guardian character on your account. So it's like a mini game. You get like a little bit of gold to rank wars. It's just not worth it unless you like the mini game. Then play the mini game. But if you don't like the mini game, then don't play the mini game. Okay, that one pretty quick. So here are the categories of items I'm going to be reviewing. This is not going to go over every Z token item. It's going to go over a lot of them. Realistically, I had Beastmaster items, and in the first run through, I forgot Optico. So like what I'm saying is, I made these categories, I tried to sort the items, but I made mistakes. Not every compression item is going to be in my list here of compression items. I probably forgot one or two. Same with status items. There's so many status items, I probably forgot one or two. So don't take this as the only possible options. I still recommend looking through the Google spreadsheet I linked in the description, which has almost every Z token item. And you can look at them for yourself. But to the best of my ability, I categorize these in two categories. Generic is just like general good items that didn't really fit in another category. Or they did fit in another category, but I wanted to highlight them anyways. Quirky isn't necessarily bad, but some of them are niche, some of them are weird, some of them are rely on synergies, you know? So ups and downs. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Compression, Beastmaster gear, status gear, stun gear, imbues, healing, eaters, you know, makes sense. With that being said, we're going into the generic weapons. Hubris is a clone of Multi-Maul, which is just a very good damaging weapon, and it allows you to prioritize accuracy or inaccuracy for more damage, and it's a dark clone, I think. Yeah, it is. Lazgrat the World Ender is a clone of Grandad, which gives you 3x lucky strike damage. Ice weapon, melee, very good weapon, very good option. Unfortunate Umbrella is a water weapon, which can do 1.5 LS damage, or it can do basically Bloodblade damage, but instead of losing HP, you have a small chance, I think 3/28, of giving the monster celerity. So like a 10% chance, very roughly, giving the monster celerity. It's a good weapon. Definitely has more competition now with the release of things like that Waves of Destruction in the rare golden gift box tier, which gives you plus 50 dex. So it does less damage on its own, but plus 50 dex is a lot. But then again, that does come with the extra 130 SP loss. Unfortunate Umbrella is free, resource-wise. Dominion's Retort and Glory's Retort. These are ranged 0-proc spears, which, depending on your ranged ramping lean, inflicts death loss or inflict Elimome. They're basically like optimized blood blades in my perspective, because a status, as long as you have luck trained, on average you'll win the status more than you lose it. So putting that power of a blood blade into a status, you're going to win it more often, you're going to get more than the original 15% melee you invested. So I just think these are pretty optimized weapons. Nothing crazy. Like for energy we also have that spear of the one you get from that Drakath quest. That, like, Tarnished Edge. No, not Tarnished Edge. Edge of Defiance. There we go. Edge of Defiance. Just plus 30% damage. And for fire, we have that Harvest Festival one, which is like plus 25% damage, but it's a 20 proc, so there's definitely good options that are gold cost. You don't need to get these, but figured I'd mention them. Legion Doombringer. These Ellie Seek against Undead. Ellie Seek is a pretty rare thing. It's not super rare, but I figured, hey, might as well mention it. They're pretty cool, and they Ellie Seek in a way that they still deal a single element's damage, so, but they pretend it's the other element. So let's say your zombie has 150 to light and 10 to dark. Legion Doombringer will do 150% worth of damage, but it'll still be dark element. So you can use it for some Ellie Vuln stacks, stuff like that. Just a cool little weapon, nothing crazy. Patriot Katana, simple one, 1.5x Lucky Strike damage. Pretty good weapon. Can shift melee ranged magic. Nothing crazy, but pretty nice. Grasp of the Gallon is a Bloodblade with a harm click skill. That's it, but harm click skills are pretty rare. Full damage harm click skills are pretty rare, I should say, because the Nemesis weapons have a efficient, quote-unquote, harm damage skill. But yeah, it also looks sick. This is my favorite. One of my favorite arts of the recent history. Well, maybe that's not true. I really like this art. Next, we're going to other generic gear. White Knight Z. Of course, most people remember this as the highest damage armor in game. Not technically true anymore, but when stacked right, you can do some crazy numbers. It also can be imbued, which allows it a niche that other armors don't have. Tropo Shield. I didn't put elements for this one because people use it for offense, not for defense. It inflicts, I think, fire, earth, energy, Ellie Vuln. It's 43% increased damage if you win the save for like 98 SP, so really good shield. Doomquake minions. Shout out to Dizzle Dude for a screenshot. This is going to become a bit if I keep making these, if the community doesn't implode. I'll keep making videos in the future, hopefully I will. But I'm going to screenshot this for my slideshow every year and just see how many we get. Hammerfall, this guy from Hammer Time, I think, that one music video. It's an efficient energy spell, which is nice, 271 MP or like 267 because it's a C token item, so it's 4 MP cheaper. But it has 1.5x LS damage, I'm pretty sure. I think it's either 2 hits or 4 hits, I forget, but pretty good spell. Nothing crazy, but pretty nice. Oh, Doomquake minions, if you don't know, it's like having 2 Earth Guests at once. So they cost double cost, but 2 Earth Guests at once. Just pretty handy stuff. This is the meme I'm really proud of I made last year. I'll let you admire it, appreciate it. Okay, moving on. So I can stop stroking my ego for humor. Compression weapons. Now, on the left you'll see the token items, and on the right you'll see the gold items. The reason I put the gold items here is because if you're going to buy a compression weapon, you probably want to know what's available as gold cost. And I'll admit, I only put the 100 procs, because for the 0 procs, or for like melee and ranged weapons, there's just a lot more. Melee ranged and magic weapons, there's a lot more, so I only put the 100 procs, but if you're buying Stratus Cleaver or Summer's Edge, just make sure you really want them, you know? Fathershed Moment is the one to point out here. It's a water weapon, but you can click it to have Ellie Seek, which is a little crazy, so I put the rainbow here for all 8 elements. It also gives choke, so we're going to talk about that later on as well. Really good weapon. Would recommend for most warriors. The other weapons, Snowblind, Liberty, Cello, and Canuck Cannon. These are all just 100 rocks. I think Canuck Cannon, Liberty Launcher, they can also do melee or ranged, or melee or magic. Cello Bow and Snowblind Bow cannot. Summer's Edge, I believe, is a sword. Stratus Cleaver is melee axe, I think. But this is what the 100 procs are competing with. There's a lot of ways to get full elemental coverage. I'm sure that now if I try to like make it math out, I'm not going to be able to, but actually no, maybe I am. We're going to go boom, bam, bam. Oh, nope, that doesn't work. Anyways, just keep these in mind, the gold items, when you're buying token items, because you don't want to waste tokens on an item that you already had compressed in another way. Compression armors, we got Evil Knight, Dark Fire Earth. This is FO, I believe it's FO modern style, but has a click skill has an armor skill that's the old lean. It might not even be modern style FO, but I think it is. Yeah, the skill does less damage than White Knight Z. It's supposed to be like the opposite of White Knight Z. Skill does less damage, but it is triple compression. Felt Gunfighter, Water Dark Compression. There's no reason to get this because Luna Neko exists, has the same stat line, and is better. Unless you're doing really weird stuff, which is why I'm gonna buy it. Golden Fang, it's the Werewolf Light Water version. Jester Masquerade, Earth Light, again, no real reason to get this. We've got Soul Neko and Werewolf, unless this gets updated with Alnafar Part 2. Like that'll ever happen. Legion Doom Knight. I think that there's Legion Doom Knight and Doom Knight. Legion Doom Knight is Dark, Ice, and Wind. I don't remember what Doom Knight is, to be honest. Whoops. Just gonna ignore it, pretend it's not there. Spring Dryad Vestments is Water Earth. Comes with some cool abilities. I don't think it's great armor, but it's cool. Straight Jacket, Water Energy. I don't know if we have other Water Energy compression. It's not tokens, I'm not sure. Vampiro is the fire version of the vampire armor. Yandere Snuggle Bear, no real reason to get this. It's like a plus 5% damage MC. We have other FO Fire Dark compression, but it's there if you want it. Then other gear. The first two are Tropo Shield and Ultimus. These provide elemental defense at -19 instead of -26, so you're going to be taking almost 50% more damage if you use them to defend against an element. Those numbers come from we're losing 7 resistance off a -26 shield, going from 13% res to 20% is a 1.5x increase, roughly. Then we have some pets and guests. Tekanor, Overcharged, Wind, Dark. I think Wind is 4 hits, Dark is 2, pretty handy. Mason's Remains, it's a summon guest. No reason to get this because Katshiro Luna Neko is like 5 hits, Water Dark. So it's only if you want the summon upkeep, which you gotta be playing some type of demon restricted account to actually need that. Champion Weapon Golem, Wind Ice. Pumpkin Golem, Fire Earth. Robocock, Catrice, Earth Wind. Snurtle, Fire Dark. Nothing too crazy here. I mean, they're all, you know, compression options. They're not going to be too flashy. Snurtle has Burn and Fear, I think. Robocockatrice has a Paralyze or a Petrify, but it's not great. It's okay, though. Really not that bad. Now we get Compression Miscs. Here's where it gets a little crazy. I couldn't even fit everything with the elemental signs, so I had to put Mother's Charm and Trophy of Enthusiasm on this side, with all the rest on the other side, but the left side is the token items, the right side is the gold items again. Nothing too crazy here. The only thing I'm going to mention is all these items are self-explanatory. The reason that the bottom 3 are separate is because these 3 are -10 resistance miscs, whereas these are multiplicative on the top. Kind of the same on the bottom, except that Trophy of Enthusiasm is multiplicative. It just does 2 elements at once. So it does fire and... oh, you know what? I got that wrong. It's fire and light. I put the wrong element there. Whoops. You know what? We're going to fix that right now so I don't forget next year. Like I said, I never make mistakes. Fire, light at the same time. Ever Frozen Shard and Urn of Darien Gourd are also at the same time, but they are -10 and they take a turn to equip, much like Head of the Radius Dragon, which you might remember being an old mist that everyone had back in the day. But yeah, the only thing else I'll say, you can look at these elements, you can be like, huh, do I really want that? The marks also give stats. Pretty much everything here gives stats except, well, some of them don't, but most of them do. The only thing to say is that the mark miscs do give stats, but also if you buy the level 60 version, they still give 45% resistance, and they cost a quarter of the tokens. So that's what I did personally last year. I bought all the level 60 versions, and I never looked back. I've never had a problem with using them, taking 5% more damage than I would have otherwise. But if you want to get the full stats, I know that some of them have int drive, which a lot of people really like, because mage is whatever, I don't know. But if you want the full stats, buy the full level. If you just want them for the defensive utility, buy them at level 60, in my opinion. Okay, so that's pretty much every option. I mentioned how these are -10. Trophy Enthusiasm is 2 elements at once, so it's a lot less convenient because the SP cost is way higher. Yeah, I think we're good. Let's move on. Oh, Cyclops Eye and Zardade. These ones are like smart miscs, so they defend against whatever element you've last been hit with. They work a little clunky. If you're getting inflicted with statuses or it's a multi-element monster, you're going to be getting less support because they change elements only once per turn. So they can weigh you down that way, but also they protect against everything, and they only protect 60% rather than 50%. But I'm a big fan of these miscs. They have weaknesses, but they're pretty handy. Okay, so now we moved on to Beastmaster gear, and as you can see, Optico is on the left side, because I forgot. So, hey, these lists are going to be mostly complete, but not perfect. Book of Love is an energy magic tome. The reason it's a charisma item, in my opinion, is because it has a built-in charisma boost for 271 MP. It's like 3 turns plus 90 or something. So really handy for free-to-play players if you don't have a charisma boost elsewhere. You can use this. It's lost a little bit of value in my opinion when items like Lost Knight's Sword have come out, where you can like eat burn for stat boost, but still pretty handy. It's a Phalalas, full damage charisma weapon with a full damage charisma scaled click skill. That's pretty much it. It also has Elivon, and I think Dex loss. Incarnation is a wind clone of Independence Dagger. Can inflict a lot of Elivon. Independence Dagger is a fire version of Independence Dagger, which inflicts Elivon based off your pet and guest hit count. Very handy. Optico, of course, is a misc that gives your pet, when you toggle it, 60% crit chance, or it gives it 50, so you have 60% total. Really strong item, really good for Beastmasters. Pretty much a must-have if you're going to have luck and charisma at the same time and play optimally, but yeah, so that's Optico. Now the other ones, Asmai Chi Shield Runestone. This makes the Asmai Golem into a really strong healing pet with a Chi Shield. It's a little bit outclassed by the Void Skull pet if you have luck and use Optico. If you don't have luck and don't use Optico, this will be better than the Void Skull pet. Because the Runestone, having to use 2 items for it, it gets a lot of compensation. So the Runestone makes it really strong. I think it's more than twice the power of a normal healing pet. All things considered, you do pay a little bit of SP for the Chi Shield, so that's how they work. But really strong. Dreadstalker Call, Water Misc, that gives burn to your pet and guest. It gives a lot of burn compared to other miscs, so pretty handy. These 4 are the Necromancer Helms. I'm not a big fan of them. They give 50 int charisma and then I think 30 endurance, as well as elemental defense, so they cost a ton of SP. Then they have a passive where they inflict either burn or bleed based on your attacks and your pet's attacks, not your guest. They're nice. I don't really like them. I think they're too expensive, like 105 SP or something like that. But, you know, some people like them, and they do a lot one turn, or in one misc, so very reasonable to like these. Shark Attack Helm, it's a water misc that makes your pets and guests bleed only if they're water, and it also gives them a negative BTH lean. I think it's better than it used to be because BTH leans are a lot better now than they were when this came out. I don't really like it because the bleed amount is really low. I think it's 0.2 total with the pet and guest combined. Could be wrong on that though, it might be 0.4 total. I'm not going to check. If you really like the idea of a misc that makes your water pets and guests bleed, you can look at it in the spreadsheet and read the info sub, because that's what you should do for all the items you're going to buy. You shouldn't just trust my opinion on what I say, you should make sure you really like the item. Status weapons, a lot to go over here. We're just going to go down the list. Reaping Gale, it's a wind weapon that inflicts wind burn, and it eats burn to give you up to 234 in your main stat and charisma. This weapon enables you to do a 6 stat build, or a 5 stat build, or a 4 stat build, or just have 500 in your main stat. It's really good. Definitely has weaknesses, like it's slower than other stat boosts, and once you have 500 in your stat, there's no benefit of going over 500, so you can kind of like if you use this with Necromancer, now you're not getting the boost from the Necromancer int drive because you already have max int. So weaknesses of this weapon, but I think it's nuts. Eclipse, Blade Blow, and Staff, they are all on hit, and they inflict a boatload of bleed because they're bugged to be twice the power. They might get nerfed eventually, they might not, I don't know, I'm not a prophet. But right now they inflict a ton of bleed. They have a weak 4-turn blind. Don't buy them for that. I mean, you could, but I wouldn't. If you want to use bleed, These are really good right now before they get bug fixed. They've been out for about 8 months, maybe 9, maybe more actually. I don't know. Actually, know what? They've been out for more than that because they were on my last list. Anyways, oh, you guys didn't see that? No spoilers. Mechwog Render, I believe that's the melee weapon, which is a clone of the Heroic Titan weapon, pretty much. Inflicts permanent ice burn based off hit count. Really strong for melee status builds. Nail the North Pole. Pays SP to either inflict a massive ice burn. It's ranged, by the way. Massive ice burn or ice freeze. Olympics Pulverizer. These come in 8 elements. There's actually 24 items, melee, ranged, and magic, and then times 8 the 8 elements. They inflict panic, and they can, I think, damage enemy SP. No, I think. Hold on, pause. Okay, we're back, and yes, they can inflict nice panic or damage enemy SP. Shark Saber, melee weapon that gives you 20 bleed potence and inflicts a 0.3 bleed each turn. I think it costs SP. Can't remember exactly, but not that much. Very good for melee bleed builds. Very handy. For maintaining melee bleed, not for building it necessarily. There's other faster ways to build the bleed, but for maintaining it, this is really good. Fathershed Moment, I mentioned this briefly earlier, but this is a melee choke weapon which can choke based off any of the 8 elements because it Ellie seeks. Really, really handy. Really, really powerful to have all in one weapon. Wax a School Locker. This is a ranged weapon with 3 click skills, which is why a lot of people call it a ranged tome. It can restore HP and SP, it can inflict disease, it can inflict poison, and it also heals SP based off the attacks, based off water resistance. So it heals more SP against a energy monster than other weapons do, because it scales off resistance. So it loses an always useful penalty, and I think it should at least, I don't remember. But it can heal a lot if you optimize for it. Anti-Mechwog Cannon, this is an ice weapon which inflicts burn. It's a little bit suboptimal, but it is 100 proc, so if you really want ice burn 100 proc, you can do that. Anti-Mechwog Cannon again, we'll pretend that was never there. Chromatic Olympics Pulverizer, this is a random element including both harm and void weapon, and it inflicts siphon poison, chromatic siphon poison. I think it does something else too, but it's cool because it does harm and void, but not really very good, I don't think, in my opinion. Geographer's Hammer, earth melee weapon which inflicts permanent earth elemental, kinda cool. Mechwog Sapper, magic ice weapon which inflicts ice burn on spellcasts. It's kinda worse than ACL's Calamity Staff, which is a gold item, so I wouldn't recommend it. Poison Bow, energy boy that trades half its damage for poison. I think it's a 5-turn harm poison, and it builds in power, not duration. So if you use it, and it won't go back to 5 turns, it'll go stronger 4 turns, even stronger 3 turns, etc. So it'll have a really high power. Some people like that, some people don't. Prism Heart Tome. This is an Earth Tome with 3 spells. One is a quick cast Ellie Shield, based off Earth resistance, I think. One, which is pretty handy. The other 2 I actually don't like. One is a Siphon Poison, but the poison heals half, rather than all the damage dealt. The other is a Prismatic Burn spell, which is overcharged. And like Prismatic Burn, you don't usually need a high power of Prismatic Burn because compared to other statuses, it's harder to stack. It doesn't do as much damage because, you know, if you have something that's weak to fire, Prismatic Burn hits with all elements, whereas a Fire Burn hits only fire. Doesn't always work like that, but that's my opinion on Prismatic Burn generally. It has a lot of niche boss uses, which I carry it for because there's like 12 bosses that are weak to it. But, yeah, it looks really pretty though. Tribal Shaman Staff, it's like a earth magic weapon which you can click to do Elemon or Siphon Poison. Kind of like exactly like the Myrmidon weapons, it's a clone. Tuliemon Granada Wand, this can empower your earth spells with panic, or it can click to use a healing effect. Panic is really strong, although this one doesn't pay as much as other status stave do. So the panic will be weaker than, say, like even Mechwog Sapper. More % melee value is invested in this than in Tuliemon Granada Wand. Wildflower Bouquet is a melee ranged magic swap weapon with a click skill to inflict Prismatic Burn. Again, like Prism Heart Tome, I don't think stacking high Prismatic Burn is usually useful. Woebetide, this is a melee weapon and it has a similar ranged magic weapon, but the ranged magic weapons are really poorly optimized. They just do what this weapon does, but worse and in a really bad way. But this inflicts Unlucky on the foe, minus 100, and has a minus 20 save. So once you inflict it, in theory, you auto-inflict it because you have an advantage from, well, no, if you win the main stat, which is main stat versus strength versus charisma. It's a really good save, is what I'm saying. So if you want to inflict unlucky for your statuses or for some other purpose, it's an okay option. Prankster weapons, these are a set of melee ranged magic token weapons, which inflict a small blind. Unless you really want energy scaling blind, I wouldn't grab these. Scholar's Quillblade. It's a water weapon which inflicts, a water magic weapon which inflicts siphon poison to heal MP on attack. Kinda cool to heal MP, but it's really low valuation. It does, I think it does some other stuff, but very little reason to look at this unless you want a basic attacking mage or you want some really relaxed MP heal strategies. Okay, now we're on to other status gear. Cherub Armor, it can inflict, it pays a lot of weapon damage to inflict massive blind, control, burn, I think, and it has some skills too. It has harm, it has Ellie Scramble. It's cool, it's got a lot of stuff. If you're an FD build, definitely might want to look into this. Abyssal Chaos Cauldron, Infernal Chaos Cauldron, these are shields which can consume potions, quick cast, to inflict poison, inflict death, loss, and Elevuln, or give you a elemental empower. Very handy, kind of like budget shield cakes. Some people compare them, I do. I think they're very good, I think they are very strong. That's it. Legion Aegis, it's a water shield with 10 poison potence and I think 12.5% poison damage, or maybe 10, I don't know. But it's basically a poison booster, pretty handy, pretty strong. Would recommend for poison builds. Harrowing Dunes, ice status nuke that gives permanent ice burn. Surge's Promise, fire status nuke that gives permanent fire burn. I think bleed and poison as well. I forget what this one does. Maybe slight ice elemental empowerment. Something else. It feels rage. It's a darkness burn spell, and it can also do blind, but the blind is as weak or weaker than gold options. So I don't recommend it for the blind, only if you really want to build overcharged dark burn magic spell, then use this. Evil Pencil, permanent death loss. Very few sources of that these days, so if you want that, this is your magic spell to go for. Gravy Cannon, I don't know why I even included this. This is a dex loss spell, so inflicts whatever that status is, entangled, on the foe. I'm gonna drink some water, make sure to stay hydrated. Mogru, energy burn, pet and guest. It also has an MP heal mode, we'll talk about that. I wouldn't recommend the pet because the pet exists already in Thunderlord's Ravens. If you want it for the burn at least. I would recommend it for the guest because I don't think we have another energy burn guest. The Pyrat contract, you've got fire, earth, and water. These inflict a lot of burn, and they're contract guests, so you pay gold to get more value. So they're very powerful, but they do have a weak hit count, I believe. I think the burn mode is 1 hit, maybe, or the other mode is 1 hit. I forget. Treasure Crab and Platinum Treasure Crab. Again, contract pets this time, which do a very strong blind. So, you like blind, you like contract pets, go for it. Silk Screamer and Doom Minion are both dark pets, and they both inflict choke. Silk Screamer also has a entangle mode. Also looks cooler. Doom Minion is a little cursed looking. It's a little skeleton guy with its head on backwards, on all fours, like a monkey, like a gorilla walking, you know, on its knuckles. So Silk Screamer is better because it has another mode, and I think the save is actually more optimized too. I think it's a minus 20, it's plus 0 or something. But don't quote me on that. Just if you have it, Silk Screamer is better. If you don't, you can get Doom Minion if you want. Snurtle, Dark Fire, Fears in Dark, Burns in Fire. I mean, is what it is, you know? I don't think it's great, but it looks cute, to be honest. In my humble opinion. Status Miscs. Yeah, I don't have any pictures of these, so enjoy this art. I got this off the internet, and I cropped out to make it fit. I cropped out the guy's name. I feel kind of bad, but you can reverse image search it. It's top on Google Images if you Google Necromancer helmet though, so go check out whoever drew this. Pretty cool art. Seems like they use like a 3D printing software or something. I'm no expert. This is just sunscreen, as you can see. In case you weren't sure, that's sunscreen. We've got the 4 Necromancer helms. I talked about these briefly. They're defensive helms. They give intellect, charisma, and endurance. They inflict bleed or burn with your attacks, spells, and your pet. I'm not a fan. Some people really like them. Read the info subs if you want more details. Dreadstalker Call, Water Burn Mist for your pet and guest. Shark Attack, Water Bleed Mist for your water pet and guest. Sunblock. These give a massive burn skill, like I'm talking 600 SP for a massive, massive burn. Let me actually check how massive. So it's not quite as massive as I remembered, but it is at a -20 save. It's power 10 for 3 turns, I think. And they also have a defensive mode and an offensive mode, so they can be defend against light or deal increased light damage. Same with water. Some pretty handy stuff. I'm not really going to pick up any of these except maybe Dreadstalker Call, maybe Shark Attack Helm, but probably not. Now on to the stun gear. There's a lot of random stuff here. Dominion Scythe gives you an Imbue to Hypersalinate, which is the energy freeze stun. Independence gives you an Imbue for Thermal Shock, Fire Freeze. Knell of the North Pole, pay SP to get a freeze. Underworld Tome is a magic tome which has a 0 MP skill to inflict fear on the opponent for 4 turns. It's like a low fear, but it's like an efficient stun option, so I guess I included it. Like, it's weird that you'd want this. You'd probably only want this for eating, and like low intensity eating, but what do I know? People like things for peculiar reasons. I do too. Fall-Tide Dagger, good sleep infliction. I'm a big fan of sleep. It'll come back one day. Just you trust. Sleep's great. Medusa Bow pays like half its damage to inflict Petrify some of the time. Jubilant and Radiant Light of Pride, these pay SP. SP amount changes depending on the enemy's elemental resistance to inflict Paralyze. So Water Monster, it'll be cheaper. Energy Monster, it'll be more expensive, because the higher their energy res is, the cheaper it is. Same with Light, obviously. Time Stream Weapons, no info subs on these for their actual % chance of infliction, but they are basically like Medusa Bow. They pay damage to inflict, except Rune Tablet has a click spell, which does it. I think it's 3 hits. Stun Bow, Energy Bow, which pays about half damage to stun, I think 60% of the time. Scales off energy res though. Yeah, I think that's all the weapons. Other stun gear, Cherub has control, pays weapon damage for it. Chrono Croaker has a drowned, so water freeze, I think. Terrarium has a normal type skill which inflicts fear. Fall-Tide Breeze is just like Fall-Tide Dagger except magic instead of strength. Mighty and Mystic Locomotive are energy fear skill / spell. Superb Owl and Radiant Owl, I'm sad I didn't get these. They inflict daze on the normal mode, but if you click them they toggle to do a Spirit Rend, and the Spirit Rend is automatic, so it is a 100% chance to attempt the infliction. It's at a +20 save, but it's charisma versus charisma, so you can, and it costs 0 extra resources. The pet just loses a turn after. So I think these are kind of cracked, and kind of like invisible to the community, because I don't think many people have used them. Sapphire has a video on it. No idea what the video is called though, so we'll see. Robocock, Petrify pet, pretty much worse than Foo Dog in most ways. Snurtle, the dark mode has a small fear. Alright, Imbue gear, we already talked about Dominion and Independence Scythe. They give energy or fire imbues with Hypersalinate or whatever that thing is called, fire charge, frozen pack. Icy hot, I don't know, whatever. Fire Dragon Talon, plus 50% damage, fire imbue. Dragon Slayer Aura gives you void against dragons or harm against dragonkin. Pretty peculiar, pretty strong. It's also half the cost of normal imbues, so really, really good against dragons, will make you unbeatable. Light Lord's Blessing is a 2-turn light imbue. Sneak Strike gives you damage-based poison, so you deal a lot of damage, you inflict a crazy poison. It also follows weapon element. Terror Fist, Dark Imbue, which inflicts fear based off damage dealt. Oh, also these two are off damage dealt too, so you can get a multi-turn stun. Thunderwave Blade, Energy Imbue, Paralyze based off damage dealt. And again, if you do a lot of damage, you'll get a multi-turn Paralyze, or a stronger poison, or multi-turn fear. Gas Bar and Heroic Titan's Inspiration are because I had no pictures of any of these, and I couldn't think of how to get a picture in a short amount of time, so enjoy Gas Bar, my elegant fellow, who has come back into the lore with a vengeance. in the Rubicon March saga. Did he do anything before? Not really, but now he does. Lovely. He's kind of cool looking. I mean, I like, you know. Anyways, we're getting off track. Also, my tradition, in case you haven't realized, is to do BF videos in one take. So we're doing one take and we're getting off track, so that's a big no-no. We gotta move on. Eater gear. The Reaping Gale. I talked about this, but wind weapon swaps melee ranged magic and eats burn to give you up to 234 in your main stat and your charisma. Crazy, crazy weapon. Book of Love has a efficient control leader. This is better than everyone says it is. It works really well with the vampire quick cast control in terms of SP and cost efficiency. But it is a stun eater, so how many bosses can you stun these days? Underworld Tome has a fear eater, same type of issue. Who's eating fear these days? Terror Eater has a fear eater. Same type of issue. Who's eating fear these days? Love Struck Plate, lead eater, spell type, FD armor, follows weapon element. Pros and cons to this arrangement. This was made slightly before Warrior Lean, so it's not a weapon-based skill. I like this because it follows weapon elements. You can do some cool things with it. You can make a harm bleed attack with any element, and you can even use neutral element stuff like Hall's Remote since it's spell type. But keep that a little secret because they might bug fix Hall's Remote if we abuse it too much, you know, but they probably won't. It's been like 5 years. Terror Totem, this is a dark shield, and this I actually see a lot more use for than Terror Eater because it's not affected by damage cast because they eat the fear you eat turns into a heal. It's also quick cast, which is sick. I think it doesn't cost SP either, but read the subs on that before you buy it. Also, terror items, I should have said, they're all half off. So if you want to buy terror items, they're cheaper. When I say that, they're half off twice, because they're always half off. So on Black Friday, they're half off again. So pretty cool. Healing gear. Blade of Actuation is a light melee weapon, which does nothing normally, and if you toggle it, it gains auto hit and loses a third of its damage to heal you based off the enemy light resistance per hit. A lot of people don't like this because it does really low damage because it's auto hit, and it is base and it loses additively damage to heal you. I like it because it's basically an FD weapon and you're hitting every turn for a little bit and you're healing a lot, like up to 200 if you have 4 hits and they're at 100 light res, very roughly. So I like that weapon. I'm going to buy it. It's also a Berserk weapon, which is really cool because it's a custom weapon ticket, so it looks sick. Spirit Lance, this is a Dark Mystic Retro Golden Axe, so you heal MP and SP when you cast dark spells. Really, really strong. Back to School Locker. The third ability pays HP to give you SP and HP back as a regen. So it's like input, but you get more output because it takes your turn too. Twilly Magnanata Wand comes with a built-in heal spell if you click it. Kind of cool. Springtide Vestments, these have a 20% lifesteal effect in the FO mode. I feel up and down on this armor because, you know, it's a hybrid armor. It's a strength int hybrid armor. So you have to use ranged weapons or you have to be a strength int hybrid, and who is a strength int hybrid in 2024? Feel free to get mad at me in the comments, it'll boost the algorithm. No, I'm kidding, but I personally have never enjoyed playing a strength int hybrid, so I don't see it as a very common playstyle. I'm sure it is. I'm sure some people think this armor is cracked, and it is for their build. But if you're not a strength int hybrid, or if you don't have the int to run it, and you're a dex int hybrid, then pretty weak. But 20% lifesteal is 20% lifesteal, so it's pretty strong. Terror Totem, we just talked about this, eats fear to heal. Shard of the Covenant. This is a light shield, which you click once per battle to get an int scaling barrier. Worked exactly the same as Haunted Dragonlord, except it's once per battle, and it's free. It takes your turn instead of costing SP. Cure Fatal Wounds and Recovery, Overcharge Healing Spells, max level. Yeah, that's it. Overcharge Healing Spells. I like them because resource looping is really easy, particularly with Recovery. You have Essence Orb sitting right there to just funnel into this, and because it's boosted by Ceiling and all the other stuff it's boosted by, you'll definitely make a profit if you have a slightly optimized setup. Magru, Energy Pet and Guest, which can heal MP based off the enemy's energy resistance. I think the guest is great because we have so few MP healing guests. I think the pet is kind of because Fairy Godmother will usually heal a comparable amount. but also has two other modes. It has the burn mode and the damage mode, pure damage. So pretty cool stuff. I would say the guest is more of a pickup for me rather than the pet, which has its uses blocked by or uses taken up by Fairy Godmother mostly, and Thunderlord's Ravens, which have an energy burn mode. The Storm Owls, Light and Energy, these can trade half their damage to heal based off the enemy's light or energy resistance. Because of the way the penalties on healing work, these have to hit and they scale off resistance, so they don't take any penalties, so they heal almost as much as Fairy Godmother on 100% resistance, even though they spend half of their time also doing damage. So in that way they're efficient. I like them. They're not so efficient though that they're worth it for most people, so I would say only buy these if you really like slow and steady playstyles, and like tanky, slow play. Asmay Chi Shield Runestone, we talked about this, but buff the Asmay Golem to be a really strong Chi Shield pet. Worse than Void Skull pet if you are a lucky build, better if you're not. Now we're on to the quirky gear. Oh my gosh, we're almost done. Wow, that was fast. Well, it feels fast to me. You guys have probably been falling asleep for the half hour. But the Adept Protector Rod comes in 4 elements. I think the name is different now, they changed it. Each element has a different name. It's like Skilled, Evolved, something or other. But it basically toggles between, like, I think ranged auto hit, melee bleed, melee pure damage, magic wand. So it has 4 modes, which is quirky. So I included it. I can't see a use for most people, but it's there. Alchemist's Halberd is an energy ranged weapon, which toggles randomly between being a Bloodblade for damage, being a Bloodblade for accuracy, or being a Bloodblade for lucky strike chance. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of annoying because it's random, but it's kind of cool, so figured I'd include it. Also, it does tell you what it's doing on that turn, but it changes every turn, so you don't know what it's going to do the next turn. But it's a cool effect, so pretty handy. It also looks beautiful, last I checked. Wobatide, this blue hammer, which also looks beautiful in my opinion. This is the one that inflicts Unlucky. The reason I have it here in Quirky is because Unlucky is a rarely used status. You're not going to get much use out of it. Monsters get very little use out of their luck, so removing it, not really helpful. But in terms of status inflictions, this is minus 111 luck. So if you have 250 luck and the monster has 225, you attack with this. Now they are not competing with you in any minor roll, so you'll always win the minor roll. If you weren't always winning the minor roll before, this is essentially like having 10 status potency on a weapon, which is why I've included it, so it can be a rare omnipotence weapon. So it's quirky. I'm going to buy it for that reason, but I really don't recommend this unless you're like, yeah, my warrior status build really could use an extra 10 status potence and not use Spotter Drake because of blah blah blah. So like, unless you know for sure you want this, don't buy it, in my opinion. Ebony Sepulchre form, dark armor which can make the foe undead. Really good for paladin cheese. But it's weird, so that's why it's here. White Knight Z, 3-hit really strong armor skill, which can be imbued to any element, but we have damage caps nowadays, so less useful than it used to be. So it's a little quirky, and you can imbue it to be any element, so it's a little quirky, but that's why it's here. Spring Dryad Vestments, it's an FDFO swap at your leisure, and it's a hybrid armor, so it's quirky, it's got damage reduction, it's got lifesteal, it's got something else too, I forget, but it's a weird armor, it's kind of cool, it's got a spell type skill, mildly interesting, go for it if you want to play a hybrid. Golden Fang, and Vampiro, we got the light water werewolf, the fire water vampire. I don't know many people who use subrace all the time anymore, but if you do, you might want these token pickups. And the protector armors, these armors featured here, beautiful by the way, and again they have 4 different names now for the 4 different elements, but they can swap FO to FD at any time, and they have a dodge boost effect, so if you dodge, you deal 33% more damage the next turn. Other quirky gear, Tropo Shield. Quirky isn't really right for this, it's just a really strong nuking item for fire, earth, and energy. Would highly recommend if you like to nuke with those elements. New Year's Surprise, didn't know where else to fit this in, could have put it in generic, realistically. But it quick cast accuracy boost in the New Year's LTS. Really strong, really useful if you need accuracy. Dark Splatter, Supernova, or Frost Devil Salt. These are dark, light, and fire spells, which come in efficient, normal, and overcharged, so 9 total spells, but they are auto hit, but they use the old auto hit penalty, which is 0.65x, so you're kind of losing a lot. So that's why they're quirky and not generic. Drop the B-Bomb, Energy SP spell, which is a clone of Drop the Mope, which basically does more damage the more SP you have, but it consumes all your SP. Has some weird uses. It also scales off Charisma. Pretty weird. Affinity Gauntlets, there are 5 of these. They come in 5 different elements. They all have their own really strong effects. You cannot buy them during Black Friday, but you might want to save tokens for them. Feel free to read up on them, ask around. I really like Time Gauntlet and Power Gauntlet and Space Gauntlet and Mind Gauntlet and Soul Gauntlet. That's not very helpful because I like all 5. But yeah, they're really strong miscs. They have 2 quick cast abilities. They can be very good. You might want to save tokens for them. You might not. Who knows? Also, realistically, you're going to get tokens from the winter donation and the summer donation before these reappear in September. So, no real reason to save tokens for them. I don't think. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think. Dragon's Blood Charm gives harm backlash against dragons. Louis, Dodge Mist, which gives you like 25 dodge overall or something like that. Costs a lot of SP. Has a dodge lash effect. Can be very good for dodging if you want to. Protosea, put this as a healing misc. It basically cleanses poisons, burns, and bleeds. You can buy the gold version though, it does the same thing, just with a slight downside of having less regen than the max level version. So no real reason to buy this until they update it to have not leveling penalty. Asmai Poison Runestone. This makes the Asmai Chi Golem have a really strong poison, like something like 120% melee, I think. Well, no, not quite. Well, maybe. But it only triggers 75% of the time. So it's a little bit inconsistent, but for people who eat poison, it's nice. The poison's also 10 turn duration, so you only lose a little bit of power each turn, which I think is sick. Is that really everything? Is that all? Oh no, we got the pets and guests, of course. Iron Golem, this is an earth pet and guest that can mind lock your foe, which is a rarely useful effect, but it can be useful, so I put it in the quirky. Copperclad and Nickelclad, not for their healing, but for their healing reduction on the foe. Normally you don't need that, sometimes it can be handy. It also reduces base SP regen, so they reduce enemy healing. Can be good, usually isn't. Fenris Prep gives you plus 50 end. That's what it does. It's weird, it's different, it's cool. Quirky section. Razor Claw inflicts permanent strength and dex loss on the monster. Weird, different, cool. Quirky. Maple Leaf, Pickle Pilgrim, and Undead. These turkeys have a 50% chance of hitting 1 hit with this first element, so fire, earth, or fire, and 9 hits with the other element, so ice, fire, and dark. Because they have some effect that scale off pet hit count, because we have damage caps, you can do some cool things with these. Unless you are planning on pet nuking showcases, probably don't buy them, but they're cool, and they're different, and they look kind of funny, I think. Like, look at this guy. Anyways, that's actually it. So that video took a long ass time because I had to, there was a ton of work with the Z token spreadsheet. I didn't even count that, so probably like 10 hours. There was a ton of work to do with that. A ton of work to do on the video. I had to figure out what format I wanted to do because I didn't really like last year's format. I mean I did, but thought I could improve it. So this took me a long time. So I would love any feedback you have because I put a lot of work into this and I want to know how to make it better. Any feedback you have on this video, what you liked about it, what you didn't, what you think was useful, what was not useful, let me know. Where should I go into more detail or less detail? I would love feedback, is what I'm saying. Positive, negative, angry, happy, jolly, seasonally appropriate, whatever works. Also, I'll move the page, but these 2 pages have all the items I'm planning to buy. I've already bought a lot of items, so that's why the list is pretty small. But the logic for them, the rough logic for why I'm gonna buy them is written. So if you're curious, you can pause the page. I'm not gonna go through them because I've talked enough. But yeah, that's the Black Friday video. I'm real excited. I haven't done much shopping yet. I bought like 5 items to take screenshots of for this video, but I haven't bought everything I want to yet. So I'm excited to go out and do some questing. I might make some videos out of that. Maybe I'll do some silly questing. I'll use like I don't know, I'll do something maybe. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just be lazy and just speed quest through with H series. But yeah, that's the video. I hope that was a helpful review of Black Friday. Again, if you want to do more research, please check out the Google Sheet in the description. It's a really good resource. It's very, very handy, and I highly recommend it. With that being said, spread some peace and love, enjoy yourself, don't spend real life money on this game if you don't have the real life money to spare. I probably should have said that at the beginning. Golden gift boxes kind of prey on gambling addiction, so that if something you're prone to, then probably don't dip into it. Yeah, that's it. Spread some peace and love and have a great day. Bye bye.